Well, let's take a closer look at Boko Haram. It began as an armed rebellion against the Nigerian government in 2009. The group opposes anything it sees as Western, from voting to secular education, and calls for strict Islamic rule. Since then, more than 35,000 people have been killed and 2 million displaced, according to the UN. In 2014, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls from the village of Chibok in northeastern Nigeria, leading to a global outcry. Many are still missing. Its breakaway ISIL-linked faction, calling itself the Islamic State West Africa province, has attacked at least 15 military bases this year, killing soldiers and seizing weapons. Kabir Adamu is a security analyst and the managing director at Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited. He's joining us live from the Nigerian capital, Abuja. Thank you very much for your time. Firstly, why do you think we are seeing such an increase in attacks around this part of Nigeria, around Borno State, especially by Islamic State West Africa province, or ISWAP?
Thank you, Elizabeth. So it's a combination of several factors, some of them external, while others are internal to that part of Nigeria, the northeast. For the external factors, it has to do with developments within the Sahel region, where, as you're aware, 3 countries are currently being ruled by military juntas. So as a result of that, they have changed their border strategy, as it were, most of them withdrawing soldiers from around the border areas back to protect the state capitals, and in some instances, in the case of Niger, oil pipelines. So that has left vulnerabilities that are being exploited by the groups that are active in the Sahel, allowing them to crisscross and sometimes, of course, end up in Nigeria. We are also seeing some internal factors, including development within Nigeria. New war fronts have emerged. So the Nigerian military is currently facing different conflicts within the country, and clearly this has allowed the groups in the northeast to exploit gaps that may have been created. Added to this is the fact that there are several, at least 4 to 5 strongholds. Sambisa Forest is one of them. The Lake Chad Basin area is another one. There is an area called the Timbuktu Triangle, and then, of course, the Mandara Mountains, which is the border area between Cameroon and Nigeria. So these groups are able to come out from these places, attack vulnerable communities, and then go back to these locations, unfortunately. Now, the Nigerian military has been carrying out a series of raids, attacks on these 4 or 5 strongholds. Their ability to maintain their presence in those locations is limited due to the inability to have the kind of equipment that they need, and of course international support that would allow them to do that.
All right, so there are obviously a lot of factors playing into what now looks like a perfect storm in the northeastern Nigeria for these armed groups to once again thrive. What's needed to dislodge the fighters from the Sambisa forest like they did in 2015, other than more equipment that you say is clearly lacking?
A sustained counter-terrorism strategy that denies this group the ability to recruit new members, that denies them the ability to obtain new weapons, and then, of course, that denies them the ability to generate funding. Nigeria has its counter-terrorism strategy. It also has a policy framework on countering violent extremism. Sadly, the compliance or the implementation of these instruments have been a little bit weak, allowing these groups to continue to generate funding, to obtain equipment, and of course to recruit new members. Relationship with neighbors, especially the Sahelian countries, including Chad, is another challenge. So unless these are reversed, which would also allow local populists to support the counter-terrorism measures, and sadly, these issues may remain the way they are at the moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can Nigeria do this alone? Like you said, Niger withdrew its forces from the region's counterterrorism joint task force in March. Will it need, again, these Sahel countries, better cooperation with them, and perhaps broader international cooperation?
Yes, and the amazing thing is there are several counter-terrorism strategies, both at the bilateral, at the regional, and at multilateral levels. There is the UN, AU, ECOWAS, of course, the multinational joint task force, and several others. But sadly, the level of cooperation or implementation, as well as funding that is required to implement all of this, both bilateral, multilateral, and regional efforts, has been the major challenge. So I think once that this funding issue is cleared, and then of course the distrust between the countries within the region. The current military ruler in Niger just a few weeks ago released a statement where he alleged that Nigeria is still trying to unseat him. So that reduces the ability for cooperation between the member states, and that needs to change.
Kabir Adamu, thank you very much for breaking all of that down for us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.